Thanks. Good morning. I think we've seen it's traditional to open with a statistic. So the one that I've chosen is that the amount of data sent on mobile networks last year was 8 times the entire amount sent in the year 2000 on the entire internet. And I think that illustrates quite well the challenges that face mobile operators keeping up with that sort of demand. Well, I chose the year 2000 for this comparison because that was the year that Cambridge Broadband Networks was founded. We design and manufacture high-capacity microwave RF equipment for the backhaul part of the mobile network. That's the part that connects the base stations back into the core. And we've been innovators in this space by combining the digital switching and packet handling techniques from IP networks with high-frequency microwave engineering in the 20 to 30 gigahertz range. And you can probably imagine that those are two fairly specialist fields. So we're very fortunate to be based in Cambridge here in the UK, where we're able to recruit world-class talent in both of those fields. Anyway, so the result of combining these two technologies is a more efficient design for this part of the network. And I should say at this point, the backhaul usually represents about 30% of the capital expenditure on a mobile network, and it doesn't really have any profit associated with it. So it's a good part of the network to design efficiently if you can. And by using our technology in comparison to traditional technologies, an operator is able to deploy, on average, half the number of radio units where they're building wireless backhaul. And this obviously has significant benefits in terms of cost effectiveness, but it's also beneficial in terms of time to market. So if you're deploying half the amount of equipment, then it's obviously possible to roll out twice as quickly, you can imagine. And it's also greener. So as a company, we've had a fairly interesting profile over the years. We've had a lot of our early success was in overseas markets, particularly in emerging markets in the Middle East, Africa, and Asia. And in those markets, there's a few differences, but one of them is that the average revenue per mobile user, or the ARPU, typically tends to be a lot lower than in developed markets. And that means that operators in those territories are very early adopters of any technology which can increase the cost effectiveness of their network. So we've been successful there. And you can imagine why that is, because every bit of information that has to be delivered to the user, whether it's a bit of voice or a bit of data, has to be delivered in the most efficient way possible to stay within the bounds of that low ARPU and make the business case for the entire network work. So you get these emerging market operators who are very early adopters. The interesting phenomenon now is that we're seeing, given the explosion in mobile broadband, and we've seen all those graphs and stats, in developed markets, you've got this explosion of data consumption. And so we're starting to see the same pressure on delivering bits of information to the user very cost effectively. And that's not because the ARPU in developed markets is dropping, it's more or less static, but it's because the number of bits that has to fit within that ARPU is rapidly increasing. And so we're starting to see innovations like ours that have really first gained traction in emerging markets being deployed in developed markets very much for next-generation networks and some of the most advanced networks in the world. So, for example, I'm very happy to say that O2 here in the UK is a customer of ours, and they're using our equipment in their 4G trial here in London, which I think is the biggest in the UK, and also for their free Wi-Fi network that's been graciously deployed to support the large number of visitors we have here in London this summer. Well, in conclusion, I'll return to the growth statistic. This is obviously looking backwards, but if we look forwards, I don't think I've ever seen any statistic that says that mobile data isn't going to continue to grow enormously. And clearly, in order to support that and make it work from a business case perspective, there's going to be much more innovation in every part of the network. And Cambridge Broadband Networks, we're very excited to be a part of that innovation. Thanks.